The package arrived in early morning, wrapped in brown paper and bad intentions. No return address, no note, just a single item inside, a glossy, professionally printed press release announcing my failure. It had my name in bold, my company name misspelled, and a quote I had never said. The headline read, "Local founder admits her tech was always a guess." I laughed once, sharp and humorless, because whoever wrote it understood theater. Nothing hurts like a lie that sounds plausible. An hour later, I sat at the family table while my father served roast like he was feeding an audience. Dean Hart was a man who treated dinner like a board meeting, and kindness like a budget line item. He looked at my empty plate, then at me. "Jules," he said, drawing my name out like a warning label. "You keep chasing these little ideas. You do not build companies. You build explanations." My mother stared at the centerpiece, as if the flowers might file a complaint. My brothers traded their usual looks, the kind that said they had already decided what I was worth and were proud of their math. I set my fork down. The metal tapped the plate with a calm I did not feel. "Funny," I said. "I thought explanations were your specialty. You have been explaining my existence for years." My father smiled as if I had confirmed his point. "That attitude is why people do not invest in you." "No," I said. "People do not invest in me because they like founders who sound like a golf brochure." The room went quiet. Silence settled into the rosemary and steam like smoke. I stood, pushed my chair back, and walked out without waiting for permission. In the hallway, the family portraits watched me leave, all of them arranged like a timeline of who mattered. I was always at the edge, holding a certificate no one asked to see. Outside, the air had that sharp bite that makes every breath feel like a decision. I drove until the town lights disappeared and the road became a long, dark sentence. I did not cry. Crying would have been a gift. I was done giving gifts. When I finally returned to my apartment above a locksmith shop, the smell of machine oil and old keys met me at the door. It felt appropriate. I had been trying to unlock my future with tools no one wanted to lend me. My desk was a mess of sticky notes and rejected pitch emails. I called it my wall of no. Some people collected art. I collected proof. In the corner of my monitor, my program was still running. I had built a system called Brightwell, a pattern engine that tracked market manipulation through language shifts, trading spikes, and rumor loops. Not stock prediction, not magic, just math with sharp teeth. Investors kept saying it was interesting, which is a polite word for not worth my money. I sat down, reopened the logs, and saw a flag I had never seen before. A cluster of accounts, a burst of coordinated posts, a sudden cascade of micro trades. The signature looked less like a mistake and more like a rehearsal. Brightwell had labeled it with a clinical warning: "Synthetic panic event detected." My phone vibrated. A voicemail from my mother. Her voice was soft, tired, and steady. "Jules, I do not know what your father is trying to protect, but I know what you are trying to build. Do not let him shrink you." I stared at the screen as Brightwell continued to chew through data, relentless and indifferent. Outside, a delivery truck rattled past, and the window trembled like it was nervous too. I leaned closer to the anomaly and felt something click into place. That fake press release in the box was not a random cruelty. It was a preview. Someone had already started writing my downfall. So I decided I would write the ending first. And this time, it would be a comedy for me, and a tragedy for whoever mailed that package. Early morning turned into the kind of day that tastes like metal. I wore my most respectable blazer, the one that made me look like I owned a serious future, and walked into a cafe that served espresso with the confidence of a courtroom. Marla Voss was already there, seated near the window, tablet in hand, expression set to, "I do not tolerate nonsense." She was famous in the way storms are famous. People did not love her. They feared her, which in finance is basically a standing ovation. She did not stand when I approached. She did not smile. Jules' heart, she said. You look like you slept next to a printer. I did, I replied. It kept spitting out rejection letters, very clingy. That got me a blink. With Marla, a blink was applause. She slid her tablet toward me. My pitch deck was open, highlighted like it had been interrogated. Brightwell, she said. Behavioral detection for coordinated panic trades. You are trying to catch a lie before it becomes a headline. Yes, I said. Because once it becomes a headline, people call it history. Marla tapped the screen. Your model is sharp. Your positioning is sharper. But you are missing two things. Money and a fairy godmother, I said. Correct, she said without humor. I am not the fairy, I am the contract. She pulled a small envelope from her bag and placed it on the table like a challenge coin. A licensing trial, she said. 90 days, exclusive evaluation. You keep ownership, I keep access. My throat tightened, not from gratitude, but from suspicion. Good deals often came with hidden knives. Why me? I asked. Marla studied me. Because you do not sound like you are begging. You sound like you are collecting evidence. I almost laughed. Almost. Then she added, also, your code caught a synthetic panic signature tied to a major retailer. If you are right, someone is rehearsing a market hit. I like being early. That was the first time I felt the room tilt. Not into hope, into momentum. Marla stood. We will onboard you through a secure call. Bring your logs. Bring your spine. Outside, the wind shoved at the street like it had places to be. Marla lit a cigarette with steady hands, then nodded toward the building across the street. My office, she said. You will come in tomorrow. Do not wander. My team likes to adopt founders and then forget to feed them. I can fend for myself, I said. I hope so, she replied. This city eats talent and calls it efficiency. Back home, I placed the signed packet on my desk as if it might evaporate. The wall of no stared back at me, jealous. I opened my laptop and began preparing the onboarding files. My system logs were clean. My code was mine. My work was real. Then the secure call opened. Marla camera was on, her face half lit by monitor glow. Behind her, a man leaned into frame for a second, eyes scanning my screen like he was reading my thoughts. Silver hair, careful posture, the kind of calm that comes from believing consequences are for other people. Marla tilted her laptop slightly, blocking him. That is Elliot Sykes, she said, voice flat. Advisor, ignore him. The man did not introduce himself. He simply watched. Brightwell ran in the background, and as I spoke, I felt his attention latch onto specific parts of my architecture. Not curiosity, appetite. After the call ended, my inbox refreshed. A new email, from an address with no name, only numbers. Subject line, you can still walk away. No message body, just an attachment. I did not open it. I saved it. I labeled it. I made a folder called Receipts. Then I looked at my wall of no and added a new sticky note. Not a rejection, a promise. If they are rehearsing my collapse, I will make their opening night unforgettable. An hour later, the deal died. It did not fade. It did not wobble. It died the way a trap door opens, sudden, loud in your bones, and followed by empty air. The email from Marla Firm arrived with a single sentence that felt like a slap dressed in formal wear. We are terminating the agreement effective immediately due to risk concerns. No explanation, no phone call, no chance to respond. I called Marla, straight to voicemail. I called again, voicemail. I stared at the screen until my eyes went dry, then laughed because rage needed an exit and laughter was cheaper than therapy. Outside, the locksmith downstairs hammered something into place, metal on metal, a reminder that locks exist because humans cannot be trusted. I opened the news feed and there it was, already blooming like mold. Brightwell Tech triggers chaos. Investors pull plug. They called my system unstable. They implied I had exaggerated results. They quoted an anonymous internal audit that I had never seen. My name was trending beside words like reckless and amateur. People who had never met me were suddenly experts on my character. Then my phone buzzed again. Owen's slate. Owen was my friend in the way duct tape is your friend. Not glamorous, but essential when everything starts cracking. He worked in compliance at a trading watchdog group and had a hobby of collecting corporate lies like baseball cards. "Tell me you are sitting down," he said. "I am sitting," I replied, "but my soul is pacing." "Your termination," he said. It was triggered by a complaint file. The complaint included technical details that only someone with direct access could know. My stomach went cold. "That means Elliot." "Not just Elliot," Owen said. "Metadata on the file shows it was created under the handle D. Hart." My breath stopped. Dean Hart. My father. "That is impossible," I said, even as my brain started assembling the evidence like a machine. Owen exhaled. "I wish it was. Also, Elliot Sykes used to be chief finance officer at your father company, Heartland Nursery Supply." I pressed my fingers to my forehead. The world narrowed to a single point, the ugly truth clicking into place. My father had not just doubted me. He had prepared for my failure. He had recruited it. Owen continued. "I pulled the complaint draft from an internal cache. It contains a screenshot of your admin console, the one you showed during onboarding." My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. "So they baited me. They watched. They copied. Then they accused me." "Yes," Owen said. "And the anonymous audit that the articles cite? It is built from your own documentation, rewritten to sound damning. It is a costume made from your clothes." I stared at my wall of no and realized my father had been building his own wall, one made of influence and quiet sabotage. "Do you have proof?" I asked. "I have enough to start a fire," Owen said. "But you need someone who can help you carry it without getting burned." "Who?" I asked. Owen paused. "Her name is Lena Park. She used to run automation projects at Heartland Nursery Supply. Your father fired her after she proposed modernizing his logistics. He called her ideas cold." I snorted. "He calls everything cold when it does not worship him." "She kept records," Owen said. "Because your father does not just fire people, he tries to erase them. Lena does not like being erased." An hour later, Lena arrived at my apartment carrying a battered laptop and a look that could cut glass. "I did not come for sympathy," she said. "I came for leverage." "Same," I replied. She set her laptop on my desk and opened a folder labeled Archive. Inside were emails, meeting notes, vendor contacts, and a signed consulting agreement between Heartland Nursery Supply and Elliot Sykes. The date on the agreement was recent. My father was paying Elliot. "For what?" Lena answered as if she heard my thoughts. "To keep you out," she said. "To keep your system buried. Because if Brightwell works, it threatens a revenue stream your father does not want anyone to see." My mouth went dry. "What revenue stream?" Lena smiled, sharp and tired. "The kind that thrives on panic." I looked at the trending headlines, at the fake press release from the box, at my father's dinner verdict, and I felt something settle inside me. Not sadness, clarity. They did not want me to fail. They needed me to. So I opened my receipts folder and created a new subfolder. I named it Revenge Organized. Early morning, my apartment stopped feeling like a home and started feeling like a war room. Lena commandeered my desk. Owen took over the couch with 2 monitors and an unreasonable amount of snacks. He claimed the snacks were for morale, but I suspected they were for survival. "We rebuild," Lena said, cracking her knuckles. "Not to prove them wrong, to make them choke on the proof." I nodded. Brightwell was the prototype. Now we build the version that bites back. We stripped the system down to essentials, then rebuilt it with new safeguards and stealth. No flashy dashboards, No pretty graphs for executives to admire while they sharpen knives. Just a lean engine that tracked panic campaigns like fingerprints. We gave it a new name, Glasswire, because it would catch lies and leave cuts. Owen brought in another friend, a calm, blunt investor named Mira Cole, who had once been sued for refusing to sign a non-disclosure agreement that she called a muzzle with better branding. Mira watched our demo without blinking. Glasswire flagged coordinated accounts. It mapped narrative shifts. It traced micro-trades that looked harmless until you saw them as a flock, not a bird. Mira finally spoke. "This is not a product. This is a spotlight." "Good," I said. "I am tired of the dark." Mira leaned back. "Your father is involved?" "Yes," I said. Mira smiled like someone enjoying a fair fight. "Family drama with securities fraud undertones. I will fund that." Lena slid a document across the table. "We also need to confirm origin. Proof is not a feeling." So I drove back to my hometown, not for closure, but for coordinates. The town looked the same, like it had been preserved in a jar. The diner sign still flickered. The sidewalks still cracked in familiar ways. Even the air smelled like damp soil and old habits. I parked near the public library, where my father loved to show up and pretend he was a local hero doing research. He liked places that made him look thoughtful. Inside, the librarian greeted me with polite recognition and mild fear. I walked to the computer stations and waited. An hour later, my father arrived, carrying his confidence like a briefcase. He sat at the corner station and typed with the intensity of a man writing a verdict. I stayed hidden behind a shelf and watched him plug in a small drive. My stomach tightened. I did not need to confront him. I needed a witness. When he left, I approached the librarian. "I need help," I said, holding up my phone with a photo of my father. "Was he here recently using that station?" The librarian hesitated, then nodded. "He comes often. He likes the corner because he thinks no one watches." "He used a drive," I said. The librarian sighed. "He always does." Back outside, I breathed in the cold air and felt the last uncertainty evaporate. My father had not just signed papers behind closed doors. He had physically participated in my sabotage. He had sat in a public building and used a communal computer like a man who believed he would never be held accountable. That belief was the soft underbelly of every tyrant. Back in the city, Lena and Owen waited for my call. "He did it," I said. "And we can prove he did it." Lena did not celebrate. She only nodded, the way surgeons nod before they cut. Owen grinned. "So what is the plan?" I looked at Glasswire running on my screen, the alerts pulsing like a heartbeat. "We do not beg for reinstatement," I said. "We launch publicly. We invite the world. Then we show them who wrote the fake press release and why." Lena folded her arms. "That will start a war." I smiled. "Good. I already have the receipts. Now I want the audience." The venue was loud with money and false confidence, the kind that wears a lanyard and calls itself innovation. The event was called Signal Crest Summit, a glossy parade of founders, funds, and keynote promises. Cameras hovered. Reporters smiled with teeth that looked rented. The stage lights made everyone look cleaner than they were. Backstage, Lena adjusted our slides with the calm precision of someone wiring a bomb with steady hands. Mira stood nearby, arms crossed, watching the crowd through a curtain gap. "If this goes badly," she said, "they will try to bury you again." I straightened my jacket. "Then they will need a bigger shovel." A staffer signaled. "You are up next." I stepped onto the stage and felt the room turn toward me, curious and hungry. My name appeared on the screen behind me, and a ripple ran through the audience like a rumor. I did not start with a sob story. I did not start with statistics. I started with a question. "How many of you have invested based on fear," I said, "and told yourself it was strategy?" A few uncomfortable laughs. I let the silence stretch. Fear is profitable. That is why people manufacture it. The screen switched to Glasswire, its interface minimal and sharp. "This is Glasswire," I said. "It detects coordinated panic campaigns designed to move markets. It tracks the language, the accounts, the trades, not guesses, patterns." I walked them through the last 90 days, the spike clusters, the synthetic narratives, the micro trades that built into a wave. I showed them the moment the same language appeared across hundreds of accounts, like a script with too many actors. Then I showed them the termination email from Marla Firm. A murmur moved through the room. I held up a hand. The claim was that my system was unstable. The truth is that my system was inconvenient. The next slide displayed metadata. File creation handle, D. Hart, location trace, the public library in my hometown. Contract link, Elliott Sykes consulting agreement with Heartland Nursery Supply. The room shifted again, this time with shock that smelled like expensive cologne. I looked straight at the front row where my father sat. Yes, he was there. He always loved front row seats when he thought he controlled the show. Dean Hart wore his best suit and his best mask. For the first time, his eyes did not look certain. They looked cornered. "Dean Hart," I said, voice steady, "spent years telling me I did not build companies. He was right about one thing." I paused. "I built evidence." Laughter broke out, sharp and startled. Even the reporters laughed, then scrambled to pretend they had not. I let the humor land, then turned the knife gently. "I am filing this documentation with regulators," I said, "and I am launching Glasswire today with a public transparency pledge. Every detected campaign will be reported, not buried." Applause started, then swelled. My father stood abruptly, face tight, and pushed past knees and bags, leaving the front row like a man fleeing his own reflection. Backstage, Lena exhaled. "You just lit him up in front of the entire industry." "I did not light him up," I said. "He lit himself up. I just removed the shade." An hour later, Mira handed me her phone. "Your father company is in free fall," she said. "Clients are pulling out. Partners are panicking." I stared at the screen, not with joy, but with a quiet sense of gravity. Revenge was not confetti. Revenge was architecture. That evening, I walked into Heartland Nursery Supply headquarters with Lena and a legal folder that felt heavier than paper. My father sat in his office, shoulders hunched, the room suddenly smaller around him. "I am acquiring controlling interest," I said, placing the documents on his desk. "Not to destroy the company, to disinfect it." He swallowed. "You came to punish me." "I came to correct you," I replied. "You taught me that fear sells. Now I will teach you that truth scales." Outside, the building sign still read Heartland, but that was temporary. Lena already had plans for a new division, a training lab, and scholarships for overlooked talent from small towns like mine. My father stared at the papers, then at me, like he was seeing the cost of his certainty for the first time. I did not ask him to be proud. I did not need it. I walked out into the cold air and felt something rare settle in my chest. Not forgiveness, freedom.